Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed at 1,000 subscribers. I'll be posting a special video. Jenna shoved my phone across the table so hard it jumped. Look at this again, her finger tapped Liam's missed call banner. You seriously still think he's not cheating on you? The way she said it felt less like concern and more like a verdict, final. I remember my throat going dry before my brain even caught up. You know that instant when your body panics first. My name is Ava and I am 29. In that moment I still believed my marriage was solid, unshakable. I also believed Jenna wanted the best for me, which feels stupid now. Back then I thought those two beliefs could live in the same room. Now I know only one of them ever deserved to stay. I forced a laugh that sounded thin even to me. He is at work again like always. I pulled the phone back. You know month end is insane for him right now. My words came out fast like I could outrun what she implied. Jenna did not smile, which rattled me more than the accusation. She folded her arms and leaned closer until I smelled her drink. I have told you this 3 times already and you keep deflecting. You do not call that late and then hang up for nothing. Her eyes stayed on my face like she was studying a stranger. I hated that I suddenly felt like a naive teenager. My phone buzzed between us and we both looked down. Liam's name lit up the screen with a short text. Running behind again, sorry, promise I will explain later. Before I could answer, Jenna exhaled a sharp little laugh. Yeah, I bet he will explain everything. I typed back fast before I could overthink each letter. It is fine, just come home when you can. My thumb hovered over the send button longer than usual. I could feel Jenna watching the way a cop watches a suspect. I hit send anyway and pretended my heart was not sprinting. You did not even ask where he is right now. Jenna tapped the edge of the table in a jittery rhythm. If my man texted that vague, I would call him out. Her words landed like small stones thrown at the same bruise. I kept my eyes on the table and counted my breaths. I trust him, I finally said, which sounded weird out loud. It came out flat like I was reading from a bad script. Jenna snorted and scrubbed a hand over her face hard. You trust him because you want to, not because it makes sense. She shook her head like she was already tired of saving me. The thing is, I had never thought about it like that before. Trust was just there like air and rent and morning coffee. You use it every day without checking what is in it. In that kitchen, her words made trust feel like a reckless hobby. I should have noticed how excited she seemed by that idea. She unlocked her own phone and started scrolling with quick swipes. Look at the last month and tell me I am wrong. She listed every late night like she had rehearsed a script. The drinks after work and the canceled dinner and the overtime. Each example stacked on the next until I felt physically shorter. I tried to joke that she should work as his attendance officer. The joke fell flat, which made the air feel heavier. Jenna stared at me with something almost like pity and frustration. You are smarter than this, and it scares me you cannot see it. Hearing that from my best friend felt worse than hearing liar. What exactly do you want me to do about it today? I pushed the question across the gap like a challenge. Call him and accuse him of something I do not believe. My voice climbed without my permission and sounded almost hysterical. Jenna blinked slow like she had been waiting for that crack. She lowered her voice, which somehow made everything much louder. I want you to stop acting like you live in a movie. In real life, when a man hides things, it is never sweet. She tapped the table twice right between us like a warning. Real life usually ends with someone sobbing in a hallway. I pictured myself in that hallway and it punched the air out. For a second I almost believed she could see the future. That is how convincing she was when she leaned into fear. Now I see she was just very good at pushing worst-case scenarios. Back then I thought she was brave for saying what I would not. Liam texted again that he might be another hour and he was sorry. Jenna read it upside down before I could tilt the screen away. He is not even pretending to have a real reason anymore. She laughed without humor, which made my skin prickle all over. I texted back a smiley and wondered when my hands had started shaking. You think I enjoy telling you this over and over? Her voice cracked, which triggered my automatic guilt faster than anything. I love you and I refuse to watch you get destroyed. She reached for my hand and squeezed hard enough to hurt. I remember thanking her while some part of me quietly flinched. That was the worst part looking back on that night. I sat there praising the person who was tearing holes in us. I kept defending my husband to her instead of defending myself to myself. I thought the big danger was whatever he was doing after work. I had no idea the real problem was already in my kitchen smiling. My phone lit up 3 times in a row before I even reached it. Ping, ping, ping. By the time I grabbed it, Jenna had already filled my screen. First a location share with Liam's little dot parked near a bar. Then her message under it. Told you, look where he is right now. I stared at the map longer than I want to admit. Liam had texted earlier that he was staying late to finish numbers. I knew his office was nowhere near that corner of the city. My brain started building excuses faster than my heart could beat. Happy hour with coworkers, I typed back to her even as my chest tightened. She answered almost instantly like she had been waiting with her thumb ready. He does not even bother to keep the story straight anymore. Another bubble popped up before I finished reading the first. If you stay in denial, you're helping him play you. The awful part is that a tiny piece of me believed she sounded practical. I dropped my phone on the couch and walked away for a minute. I washed a plate that was already clean just to move my hands. In my head, I tried to replay his exact words from earlier. Had he said office or just work stuff or something vague? Memory suddenly felt slippery, and that scared me more than the map. The next day I was scrolling through nothing when another screenshot landed. This time it was a story from some coworker's social media. A birthday cake on a crowded table, people packed close laughing. On the right edge I saw him half-profile leaning in to speak. Beside him stood a woman I recognized only from tags and quick mentions. Under the picture Jenna had already typed a running commentary. There she is again, Melanie, always next to him, not an accident. She zoomed the image and circled them like a detective building a case. You really think this is just friendly office stuff at this point? My thumb hurt from how hard I pressed the screen trying to zoom out. I tried to answer with logic even though my stomach was doing cartwheels. It was a group thing, she probably just grabbed that seat. That is how it starts, came back with an eye roll emoji. She will be the one he complains about you too. I locked my phone, but the line stuck in my head and echoed. Have you ever stared at a photo until it starts rewriting your memories? I was suddenly replaying every time I heard that woman's name. Every casual story about his team blended into one suspicious blur. There was no new fact, just new framing, and that hit me hard. I wished I could go back to seeing random people as just random. 2 days later, a bank alert came through while I was at my desk. Unusual amount at a restaurant inside a hotel across town. Before I could even open the app, Jenna dropped another screenshot. She had the same charge circled like she kept my finances on her lap. I swear he is not even trying to hide it anymore, she wrote. I typed that work dinners happen and that he usually hates them. I deleted that message before sending it because it sounded weak. Instead I wrote, probably some client thing I will ask later. She replied with a simple 3-word punch. Ask him now. That was the shift for me. It stopped being about what Liam did and started being about timing. Ask now. Call now. Blow everything up tonight or you are foolish. Her urgency wrapped around me like a dare I was too scared to take. Every time his name popped up on my screen, hers followed behind it. He would say, running behind again, home later, with a tired emoji. She would drop, again, you see the pattern yet, with a screenshot. My phone turned into 2 people arguing over who knew the truth. I started checking for her replies before actually reading his. One night I opened a new message to him and just stared. My thumbs hovered over the keyboard while my pulse jumped. Where exactly are you right now? I typed and then erased. That charge at the hotel looks weird, I wrote, then cleared again. I ended up sending something safe about leftovers while my face burned. If you have ever swallowed a question you really wanted to ask, you know that taste. It is bitter and metallic and strangely heavy in your chest. I told myself I was preserving peace, not avoiding answers. That is the story I clung to while I sat there refreshing our thread. Somewhere under that, fear was already chewing through my certainty. The first real clash happened on a Thursday around midnight. I was on the couch with the TV volume low, pretending to watch. Jenna's messages from earlier still sat unread on purpose. When the front door finally opened, he walked in loosening his tie. He looked exhausted and normal, which only made me feel crazier. "You are up late," he said as he dropped his keys into the bowl. I muted the TV and turned Ed toward him like I was about to conduct an interview. "How long have you actually been out?" I asked, keeping my tone casual. He paused halfway through pulling off his jacket and frowned a little. Since I texted you, why did something happen?" This was the moment I could have backed down and pretended. Instead, I heard Jenna's voice in my head saying, "Ask him now." "There was a charge on the card at that hotel restaurant," I said. "And you were near that bar the other night, not your office." My own words startled me more than his expression did. His head snapped up like I had slapped him. "You are checking my location now?" he asked, eyes narrow. "And tracking my expenses like I am under investigation." I clenched my hands together so tight my knuckles hurt. I hated that it sounded bad even to me when he framed it like that. "I did not look it up," I answered and my voice shook. "Jenna sent it, she keeps noticing this stuff and she is worried." As soon as I pulled her name into it, the air shifted. Something in his face shut down in a way I had never seen. That scared me more than if he had just started yelling. "So this is actually about her and not us," he said slowly. He dropped his jacket on the arm of the couch instead of hanging it. "Is she seriously monitoring where I go and what I spend?" He sounded more stunned than guilty, which threw me completely off. For a second, I did not know whose side I was supposed to be on. I rushed to explain because silence felt like surrender. "She thinks you might be hiding something, and I did not know what to do. She is just trying to protect me, and it freaked me out." Even as I spoke, the explanation felt flimsy and childish. I heard myself and wondered when I had started sounding like a teenager. He laughed once, short and humorless, and rubbed his forehead. "I am working late and grabbing food, that is the big secret. If there is a charge at that hotel restaurant, it was with the team." He met my eyes and there was hurt there, not panic. "Do you actually believe I am sneaking around behind your back?" That is the question I was not ready to answer honestly yet. My mouth opened, but nothing sensible came out at first. "I do not know what to think anymore," I finally managed. "You are always gone and she keeps showing me all this stuff." I realized I had said she before I said you, and it landed hard. He stared at me for a long beat like he was weighing something. "I can handle you being upset I am working too much," he said. "I cannot handle you letting your friend turn me into the villain." He picked up his jacket again and headed toward the hallway. "Figure out who you actually trust, because this is getting ugly." His footsteps faded and the bathroom door clicked shut down the hall. I sat there on the couch with my heart racing and my face hot. My phone buzzed on the cushion beside me like it knew its cue. A new message from Jenna flashed on the screen. "Well, did you confront him yet?" she wrote before I could even breathe. "I cannot keep doing this in my head, sit down." I blocked the hallway before he could walk past me. He froze with his bag still on his shoulder, eyes sharp. For a second, we just stared at each other, breathing too fast. That was the moment I finally chose chaos over pretending everything was fine. He slid the bag down slowly and dropped onto the couch. "Okay, I am sitting, what is going on now?" My heart hammered so hard it felt childish and dramatic. I sat opposite him like we were at some broken interview. "Are you seeing someone else?" I asked and my voice scratched. There it was out loud in our living room. No screenshots. No side commentary. Just the ugliest question I had ever asked anyone I loved. I watched his face like a lie detector I had never learned to use. His hands opened and closed once on his knees. "Where is this even coming from?" he asked, looking straight at me. I did not want the conversation to shift away from my question. "It is not complicated," I said. "Are you involved with another woman or not?" He leaned back and exhaled through his teeth like it hurt. "No, I am not involved with anyone. I am exhausted and overworked." His answer was immediate, which actually made me suspicious for a second. Jenna's voice had trained me to assume quick answers were rehearsed. I hated that I believed her rhythm more than my own partner. "I brought up the dinner bill and the bar and the late nights." The words poured out in one long messy wave. "Every time you say you are at the office, you are somewhere else." She keeps catching it and I look stupid for ignoring it. I realized how desperate I sounded and it made me talk faster. He rubbed both hands over his face and then dropped them. "Give me your phone for a minute," he said, holding out his hand. That request startled me more than any defense he could have given. I placed it in his palm like it might explode. He unlocked his own and set them side by side on the table. You are right, something has been going on after work. My stomach lurched so hard I nearly stood up. He lifted his screen and opened a text thread I had never seen. At the top was a name with a title, not a first name. Messages scrolled back for weeks, short lines about anxiety and stress. I started meeting a therapist near that bar twice a week. He scrolled up to the first message where he reached out for help. Lines about panic in meetings and pressure at work flashed by. I did not tell you because I felt weak enough already. Hearing that made my cheeks burn with shame and relief at the same time. I read a few of their exchanges, my fingers trembling over the glass. There were no flirty jokes, only reminders and breathing exercises. He pointed at a timestamp that matched one of the nights Jenna flagged. That is where I was when she swore I had someone in my car. My brain scrambled to rewrite that memory and glitched halfway through. Why not just say this from the start? I asked, throat tight. I would rather hear you are struggling than imagine affairs everywhere. He looked away for a moment and his jaw twitched. Because I did not want to be another problem you had to carry. In my head, fixing myself alone sounded stronger than dumping it on you. It should have melted me on the spot, right? Part of me wanted to throw my arms around him and cry. Another part hissed that cheaters also hide things in the name of protection. That second voice sounded a lot like Jenna after 3 drinks. I hated that my loyalty now split into 2 different channels. I pointed at another notification in the thread, a calendar reminder. That still does not explain the hotel restaurant charge, I said. He unlocked his banking app without hesitation and handed it over. Scroll those dates around, he said, tapping 2 lines on the screen. 2 transactions from a jewelry store sat right above that dinner. My chest clenched for a completely new reason when I tapped them. The descriptions listed some coded item numbers and a deposit. I have been planning something for our anniversary, he went on quietly. I met the jeweler near that hotel, then grabbed food with the team. His fingers traced a circle in the air like he was drawing a map. I opened his messages again and found another conversation. This one was with an unknown number, later labeled with the store name. Photos of rings and pricing details filled the screen. In one text he wrote, she mentioned wanting a different setting years ago. Reading that line felt like getting punched and hugged at the same time. He watched my face while I scrolled through possibilities and notes. I wanted to get it right before telling you anything. You know how you overthink gifts. I overthought this entire thing. There was no drama in his tone, just tired honesty. That almost made me more suspicious because it did not match the movies. I could feel my pride shriveling in real time. I had accused this man of sneaking around while he planned a surprise. But I also could not ignore the weeks of doubt and panic. So you are in therapy and upgrading my ring, I said slowly. That is the full story, nothing else hiding out there. He nodded once, shoulders sagging like air leaving a balloon. That is the whole thing, no secret girlfriend, no double life. I should have told you sooner, I just thought I needed to handle it. He reached toward me, then stopped halfway like he was not sure. Can you please stop letting your friend narrate our marriage? That line hit harder than any screenshot ever had. Because he was right, she had become the voiceover in my head. I am not just listening to her, I said, even though we both knew I was. I was scared and she kept showing me things I could not ignore. Even saying it, I sounded more like a follower than a partner. He stood up with a weary shake of his head and went toward the shower. I am going to get cleaned up, you do whatever you need to do. Water started running down the hall a minute later, steady and loud. I stayed on the couch with both our phones on the table. I should have turned mine off right there and changed everything. Instead, I grabbed it and opened Jenna's thread with shaking hands. My thumbs flew before my brain could calm down. I confronted him and he had answers for everything, I wrote. He says he is seeing a therapist and planning something for me. I did not mention the ring yet because a part of me wanted to keep it safe. Her response came in under 10 seconds like she had been waiting. Of course he does, cheaters are never short on explanations. Another message followed with that same sharp energy I knew too well. Therapy after work and mystery money screams guilt, not romance. I stared at those words and felt the fragile relief inside me crack. He showed me the message. Ease, I typed back, fingers stiff. And the receipts and all of it, it looked real. She answered with a laughing emoji that did not feel friendly at all. They always show what makes them look noble, she wrote. You really think he would let you see the actual dirty stuff? I should have trusted what I just saw with my own eyes. Instead, I let her pull me back into her version of events. He has been off for months, she continued, message after message. Suddenly he is in counseling and buying jewelry. That is classic damage control. It sounded like something from a podcast she would binge and quote later. I tried to push back, still clinging to a tiny piece of certainty. He booked those sessions weeks ago before you started pointing things out. He has been stressing about work and did not want to dump it on me. She replied with a short line that cut right through everything. You hear how brainwashed that sounds. Something in me snapped at that word, brainwashed. I was tired of feeling like the dumb character in a cautionary tale. Why are you so invested in this? I wrote, my hands sweating. You watch our accounts and his location more than I do. As soon as I hit send, my heart jumped into my throat. The typing bubble popped up, disappeared, then appeared again. She finally answered with a longer message than usual. Because I care about you and I know how men operate, she wrote. I would rather risk annoying you than watch you get blindsided. Then she added one more line that chilled me. I have had his dot on my app for weeks. I know his patterns now. I stared at that sentence 3 times, making sure I read it right. We had all used that tracking app years back and mostly forgotten it. The fact that she still watched him through it without telling me hit hard. So you have been checking where he is every time he leaves? I asked. Even when I said I was fine and not worried. Yeah, because you were not actually fine, she answered. You just did not want to look at what was in front of you. In my chest, something twisted away from her for the first time. Not toward him yet, just away from her grip on my reality. It felt like taking one step back and seeing the whole table. I remembered the way she rattled off his schedule at my kitchen. How she always had the exact time and place ready like a database. At the time I thought that meant she was extra observant and loyal. Now it dawned on me that she might simply be obsessed with our life. That realization slid in quiet but stayed loud in my mind. She sent another text before I answered, driving it harder. If he really loved you, he would not hide sessions and dinners, she wrote. He is playing both sides and you are letting him win. I looked down at the proof on my lap that said otherwise. For the first time, her certainty felt dangerous, not protective. That night, I deleted nothing. I kept his therapist messages and the jeweler thread and her rants. They sat side by side like 2 different movies about the same week. Back then, I still did not know which one to believe. Now, writing this, I know exactly which story was trying harder to be true. Unlock your phone. I stood in the doorway to our room with my arms tight. He was half turned toward the closet, paused, then faced me fully. Something in his expression flickered between offended and resigned. I need to see everything, not just what you pick out for me. He watched me for a long beat that felt ugly. Then he set his wallet down and pulled out his phone. His thumb moved, the home screen flashed, and he held it out. No restrictions, go ahead. That easy gesture scared me more than if he had refused. I took it with both hands so I would not drop it. My own phone lay on the bed beside us, screen dark. 2 different lives buzzing within arm's reach of each other. He sat on the edge of the mattress while I stood there. Start wherever you want, he said, voice flat but steady. I opened his messages first because that is where my fear lived. Work group chats, family thread, random numbers I did not recognize. Nothing jumped out as hidden, nothing had secret labels. My heart calmed for half a second, which almost felt worse. Because if nothing was there, then what had I been doing? Then I saw her name sitting lower than it should. Not pinned, not at the top, but still high enough to sting. A little crossed bell icon sat beside it, quiet and accusing. He had muted her, and I did not even know they texted. That detail punched harder than anything Jenna had ever shown me. Why is she muted on here? My voice came out thin and sharp without warning. He pressed his hands together and stared at the floor. Open it, he said, jaw tight, you will see why. That answer made my skin prickle all the way up my neck. I tapped her name and the thread flew open. The recent part looked normal at first glance. Quick notes about group plan. A meme, one random question. Nothing romantic, nothing obvious, just regular chatter. If I had stopped there, we probably would have stayed broken. I scrolled further back, thumb moving slower now. Weeks disappeared, then months, as the screen jumped upward. One late message stopped me cold. Texted after midnight from her side with no response from him. I cannot sleep, you are way too attractive for a married man. My stomach flipped so hard I had to sit down on the bed. Another line from her sat under it, sent minutes later. Do you ever wish things were different? His answer came in the morning, short and solid. This crosses a line, I care about Ava, do not go there again. I read that reply 3 times, breathing too fast. He had shut her down, which should have calmed me. Instead, a new question slammed in. Why did I have to find this out on a screen? Why was I reading his defense of our marriage alone? I kept going because at that point stopping felt worse. A few days later, she had sent a blurry mirror photo. Hair tousled, mouth a little open, clearly not an accident. Under it she wrote, imagine what you could have if you left. His response landed like a slammed door. Delete that, I am serious, this is disrespectful to her and to me. There was a long, empty stretch after that message. No bubbles, no jokes, no friendly updates for weeks. You could see him backing away through silence. Finally, she popped up again with something casual about a movie. He answered with one word, polite and distant, nothing else. I felt my face heat while I scrolled through her attempts. Little hooks tossed out, you deserve better, she does not get your stress. His replies shrank as hers grew longer and more insistent. He never flirted, never picked up what she kept throwing out. The rejection was clear, and that clarity burned my embarrassment deeper. You know that sick twist when you realize you picked the wrong enemy. For weeks I had focused every ugly thought on him. Meanwhile, the person pushing me to doubt him was texting him drunk. I wanted to throw the phone across the room and also read everything. That conflict kept me glued to the thread like a car crash. I forced myself to scroll down into the recent stuff again. Right before she started hammering me with proof, her tone changed. There it was, a message from her to him days earlier. So therapy, huh, is it really that bad at home? My heart dropped because he had never told her that detail. He answered, it is about work, please do not involve yourself in this. She replied so fast the timestamps almost matched. If you are secretly planning to leave, you can tell me. Another line followed before he replied. I see more of you than she does lately, just saying. I could almost feel my own past confusion replaying in my chest. While I sat on my couch doubting myself, she typed that to him. She knew exactly when his sessions were, down to the day. She also knew he was organizing something with the jeweler. And she never once mentioned any of that to me. A few messages later, she brought that up too. So you're dropping serious money at that store, she wrote. Big move for someone who claims everything is fine. He responded, it is a gift for her, it is none of your business. Her next line made me feel physically cold. She does not appreciate you, you know that, right? I scrolled with my jaw clenched so tight it hurt. She laid out my supposed flaws like a shopping list for him. Too emotional, too distracted, too trusting. She will not even notice you are gone until it is too late, she wrote. The level of confidence in her messages made my skin crawl. He shut her down again, clear and blunt. Stop trying to cause problems where there are none, he wrote. I love my wife, this is the last time I am saying this. After that, his replies went even shorter, sometimes only an emoji. You could see him backing away while she kept leaning in. I glanced up and found him still on the edge of the bed. His hands were locked together, shoulders rigid, eyes on the floor. You were dealing with this while I fought you about cheating, I said. My voice came out low, more stunned than loud. He finally looked up and the shame in his face hit hard. I thought if I ignored her, it would die on its own. He rubbed his thumb along his palm like he wanted to scrape the night off. The first time she sent anything like that, she was drunk. I believed it was a one-time outburst, and I did not want to blow up your friendship. He shook his head once. Obviously, that was a mistake. That admission burned in more than any denial he had ever given. He had chosen to protect my feelings by hiding this from me. At the same time, he left me alone with her version of events. I felt furious and grateful and mortified in one tangled knot. You cannot really prepare for that particular mix until it hits. You shall. D have told me the second she crossed that line. I tossed his phone down beside me, not gently. Instead, I sat with her while she dissected your schedule. I listened to her say you were lying while she was texting you like that. My eyes blurred, which just annoyed me more. He moved closer but stopped a few inches short. I know I own that, he said, voice rough. I did not want to be the one to say your best friend had a crush on me. I thought I could handle it privately and keep your world intact. He blew out a breath. Turns out that is not how reality worked. There it was again. Him taking responsibility in a way that felt messy and human. Not some perfect speech, just a guy who misjudged a situation. I believed him, which almost made me angrier at myself. Because I had trusted her certainty over this weary honesty for weeks. I picked the phone back up and checked the dates. Her first big accusation to me lined up with his last firm message. She started hammering me the moment he shut her down completely. Not before, not randomly, but right after he drew a hard boundary. Once you see that pattern, you cannot unsee it. I realized something else that made my stomach twist again. She had never once asked me how I felt about his stress. She only asked where he was, who he might be with, what he might hide. Every question aimed at him, nothing aimed at my actual heart. It was never about helping me, it was about breaking us. My chest hurt in this deep, tired way I did not recognize. It was not the sharp sting of jealousy anymore. It was the heavy ache of betrayal from the wrong direction. I had been watching the front door like danger lived outside. Meanwhile, the real threat had my spare key in my group chat. I looked over at him again, really looked. His eyes were bloodshot, his tie undone, his shoulders sagging. He did not look like a man planning some secret escape route. He looked like someone who had been juggling too many secrets at once. Most of them for the sake of keeping my life stable. Do you still think I am cheating on you? He asked quietly. The question landed in the space between us and just sat there. I opened my mouth, then closed it, then forced myself to answer. No, I said, and my voice finally sounded certain. But I know who wanted me to think you were. He studied my face like he was checking for cracks. Then the next conversation is not with me, he said. I will show you anything you want from now on, no password walls. He nodded toward my phone still lying beside me. But you need to decide what you are going to do about her. Later that night, long after he fell asleep, I stayed awake scrolling. I reread every line in their thread until the words blurred. Then I switched to mine with her and watched the timelines overlap. Where she gaslit him and then comforted me over and over. It felt like watching someone rearrange my whole life behind my back. By the time my alarm finally glowed on the nightstand, my decision was set. Not about my marriage, surprisingly, that felt clearer than it had in months. My choice was about the woman who had insisted she alone knew the truth. The woman who called herself my closest ally while chasing my husband. I finally understood who had actually been circling my marriage this whole time. Come over tonight, no group, just us. I hit send before I chickened out. The 3 dots blinked on my screen like they were judging me. On my way, you finally ready to hear the truth, she replied. By the time her car pulled up, my hands hurt from clenching. Liam knew she was coming and stayed in the bedroom, door mostly shut. Call me if you want me out there, he had said, eyes steady. I told him I had to do this first alone, which felt braver than I was. Jenna breezed into the kitchen without knocking and dropped her keys. She hugged me quick, all perfume and loud energy. I brought wine, you are going to need it, she said, heading for the cabinet. I slid her glass out of reach and stayed by the table instead. We are not drinking for this, I said, voice calmer than I felt. She paused, hand halfway to the shelf, then laughed. Wow, that bad, huh? What did he confess to? She looked excited in this sharp way that made my stomach turn. I pulled my phone from my pocket and set it down between us. We are going to walk through some things in order, I told her. Her eyebrows jumped like I had suggested a game. Finally, let us go, start with where he was Tuesday, she said. Not him, you. That flipped the mood so fast her smile twitched. I opened the screenshots I had taken from his phone the night before. First, those late-night messages you sent him, I said, sliding it over. She glanced down, then back up at me, then down again. Her shoulders rose once, quick and defensive. Oh my God, you snooped in his phone, she blurted, grabbing the counter. That is intense even for you. Read them out loud, I said, nodding at the screen. If you are proud of them, you should be able to hear them. She swallowed and stared at the text I already knew by heart. I cannot sleep, you are way too attractive for a married man, I quoted for her. She winced like I had slapped her with her own hand. I was hammered that night, you know how I get, she muttered. It was a joke, he knew I was messing around. I flipped to the next part before she could build momentum. Then this one, I continued, my voice rougher now. Do you ever wish things were different? He answered you the next day and told you this was over the line. I tapped his reply so she could not pretend she missed it. She rolled her eyes and tugged her sleeve down like it bothered her. He overreacted, everyone flirts, that does not mean anything, she said. Men love acting holy when they get caught enjoying attention. She tossed her hair back and studied me like I was the problem. I swiped further and pushed the phone closer again. This is not playful, I said, my throat tight. That picture you sent him, the one with your shirt half open. And the message under it, imagine what you could have if you left. Her face flushed for real that time, not cute, not staged. She snatched the phone up and locked it with a hard press. You dug up everything just to shame me, she snapped. He did not complain when I boosted his ego. He literally told you to delete it, I shot back, heat rising. He spelled out that it was disrespectful to me and to him. And your answer was to wait a beat and then start on me instead. My heart pounded, but I finally felt clear. She opened her own phone now, hands jittery. You are choosing the version he showed you, she said. You have no idea what he hid or erased. Her tone went cool and smug again, like she had the upper hand. That is the thing, I replied, taking a step closer. I saw the therapist messages, the jeweler thread, the calendar reminders. I watched the exact day he pushed you away for good. And it lines up perfectly with the day you started warning me nonstop. Her jaw clenched when I used that word, warning. He is manipulating both of us. That is what men like him do, she said. You really think he did not clean everything before handing you his phone? She laughed once, sharp and ugly. You are falling for the oldest trick in the book. I am not basing this only on his screen, I said, forcing myself steady. I am looking at yours too. I opened our chat where her accusations began to spike. I scrolled until the dates matched the ones I had memorized last night. Here I pointed, my fingers shaking. The morning after you sent him that late night stunt, you text me. Your husband is cheating on you, open your eyes. You left out one important detail, that you had just hit on him. That is not the same thing, she shot back, eyes wide. I was picking up on a vibe, he wanted out, you're just blind. Her voice rose and she slammed her phone on the table. You want to attack me because it is easier than facing the truth. I did face the truth, I answered, pulse racing in my ears. And it looked nothing like what you described. The truth is you watched him, chased him, and when he rejected you, you came for me. I felt something inside me harden as I spoke. She opened her mouth, but I pushed on before she twisted it. You tracked his location for weeks, I said. You checked every charge, every night out, every meeting. You knew about his sessions and his plans for our anniversary before I did. Her eyes flicked away at that last part, quick and guilty. I was verifying patterns, somebody had too, she muttered. He told you about that appointment to look noble, by the way. You think he is buying jewelry because he is happy. He is buying it because he still loves me, I said, and I believed it. And he is seeing that therapist because he was drowning, not scheming. You twisted both into evidence for cheating while hiding your own text to him. Saying it out loud made the room feel smaller and sharper. She finally dropped the tough act for a second and looked tired. I did all of that because you were checked out, she said. You complain about him, then defend him, then pretend everything is fine. I thought if I pushed hard enough you would wake up. You never pushed me to talk to him, I answered, and that part hurt most. You pushed me to suspect him, that is different. You never once asked how I was really doing, you only asked where he was. My voice shook, but I did not look away this time. She stepped closer like she could still reclaim the friend role. I love you, that is why I focused on the signs, she insisted. I saw the distance between you two and tried to save you. Her hands lifted, empty, as if that made her believable. No, I said, and the word came out solid. If this was love, you would have told me when you crossed that line with him. You would have admitted that you felt something and stepped back. Instead, you hid it and turned every late night into a cliffhanger for me. Her face tightened and she laughed again, brittle and high. So now I am the villain and he walks away the hero, she scoffed. You really think he was not flattered by the attention? You really think he never encouraged it when he was mad at you? He might have liked feeling wanted, he is human, I said. I am not pretending he handled this perfectly. But he told you no and kept telling you no and you kept going. And then you came into my kitchen and called yourself my guardian. She stared at me like she was seeing someone new. So what, you want me to apologize and sit in the corner now, she asked. You want me to promise I will never care about your relationship again. The way she said care made my skin crawl. I want you out of it, I replied, every word slow. I want you out of our marriage and out of my house. I want you out of any story where you get to be the one who knows better than me. My hands were shaking, but for once I did not hide them. She blinked hard and her eyes went shiny, though I did not trust it. I cannot believe you're throwing away years over some texts, she whispered. I was the only person telling you the truth and you are punishing me. In a year when he proves me right, do not come crying. That is when it finally snapped all the way inside me. My husband is not betraying me, I told her. You were. You broke the one rule I thought we both understood, and then you used my fear as a hobby. She opened her mouth again, but I raised my hand. I listened while you dismantled my trust in him for weeks, I went on. I let you narrate our life like you were the main character. I am done with that, I am done with you. Her features hardened and her shoulders squared. Fine, stay with your perfect man and enjoy your illusion, she spat. Do not text me when it all falls apart. She grabbed her keys and walked out without looking back. The door closed harder than she probably meant it to. I stood there with my pulse thudding and my legs weirdly unsteady. For a second the silence felt louder than all her warnings combined. Then I heard a floorboard creak down the hall. Liam leaned on the doorway, cautious, eyes searching my face. How bad was it? He asked, voice low. I let out a breath I did not know I was holding. It is done, I said. She will not be in this with us anymore. He crossed the room slowly, like he did not want to crowd me. When he reached me, he held his hands out, palms up. I stepped into that little space and let my forehead rest on his chest. We have a lot to fix, I murmured. But at least now it is just us fixing it. That was months ago. Now I am at the table again, typing this, listening to normal noises. He is in the kitchen arguing with a recipe video and losing. We still bicker about small things, we still work on the big ones. The difference is I know which voice in my life wanted collapse. So here is the part I keep circling back to while I write. Sometimes the person screaming that you are being fooled is the one using you. Sometimes the loudest I am only trying to help is just envy with a mask. If you have a friend who seems almost thrilled by your doubt, watch that. Ask yourself who would secretly enjoy being right about your heartbreak.